The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
And your time now is 5:04, and we continue our coverage of that storm that Kevin has been talking about. This is not just going to simply bring a light storm or a light bit of rain that we typically see if we get anything during this time of year. But as the storm moves in Kern County this morning, first responders are keeping an eye on the Kern River Valley. Of course, that is an area, one of the areas of Kern County that has a lot of concern.
Yeah, and residents who just endured this fire season now are preparing for more possible disaster to come to their area, with putting more lives and homes at risk. And 17's Chris Burton joins us in studio now with more on what officials are preparing for up that way. Chris?
Well, good morning, Maddie, Alex, and for people in areas of the Kern River Valley scarred by the French fire in particular, today's rain could put homes and lives at risk. Now, we showed you the scene in Tobin up north this morning. This footage is from a burn scar in the Salinas Valley earlier this year. Officials have two major concerns about these areas. When the fires ripped through, they burned all that vegetation away, and the root networks that remain are very weak, and there's very little to anchor the soil, which can result in debris flows or mudslides. Now, that's the first worry. The second here is flash flooding. Ash and other particles created by the fire have saturated the soil and made it as water repellent as asphalt, officials say. When up to an inch of rain falls on the soil, it races downhill and accumulates. The National Weather Service has placed communities around Kernville and Lake Isabella on flash flood watch this morning, as Kevin said. They say a good rule of thumb is if you can look uphill and see a burn scar, you are at risk. Now, the best action to take here would be to temporarily evacuate, as the NWS is saying. But if you can't evacuate, if you want to stay in your home, the NWS advises to get on the top level of that home and acquire sandbags to divert that flow away from your house.
And I'm thinking of several homes, specific homes that I saw and entire neighborhoods that fit that description of what you just said, where the hillsides were burned and those kind of lead down to these homes. So there are a lot of places that are in that kind of situation this morning. So definitely prepare ahead and don't just wait for the rain to come. It's coming. Get ready.
Well, and unfortunately, we've seen this in the years past with other major wildfires that have gone through certain areas where the fire doesn't necessarily kill anyone. It's the mudslides that can come after a torrential rainstorm. Deadly. And again, we saw that in Ventura County just a couple of years ago after the Thomas fire. So this is something that everyone should take caution to, especially this morning. Chris, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And just a reminder that we are always on the lookout for your pictures and videos of the storm. If it is safe to do so, you can capture the storm as it moves through your area and send your photos and videos to us. You can email them to 17news@kgt.com or any of our social media pages. Meantime, this storm is not just impacting us here in California. Up in Washington, the storm claimed the lives of 2 people yesterday. High winds toppled trees, including this one that crashed on top of a car in the city of Issaquah. 2 people were inside the car at the time of the incident. They were killed by the impact. The King County Sheriff's Office is calling it a tragic accident. They say fallen trees are common on that roadway.
And turning now to your 17 homicide tracker, sheriff's deputies are searching for a shooter who killed a man early Saturday morning in Northwest Bakersfield. Sheriff's deputies say the killing happened in the area of Gibson Street and Marriott Drive around 2:30 in the morning. Investigators say a car pulled up to the man walking at Gibson and Marriott and fired a round off and then drove off. No description of the vehicle or shooter. By our count, this is Kern County's 116th homicide this year.
Bakersfield police made 1 arrest and impounded 17 cars during a DUI checkpoint this weekend. The checkpoint was set up at Panama Lane near Ash Road between 6 p.m. Saturday and 2 a.m. Sunday. Officers screened almost 1,300 cars, making 1 arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol and citing 25 drivers for improper licensing. BPD says penalties for DUI convictions can include jail time, fines, and other expenses.
Meantime, the Highway Patrol is investigating 2 crashes that resulted in the death of a pedestrian in Oildale. According to the CHP's traffic incident information page, a crash involving 2 vehicles was reported at Norris Road and Howard Avenue just before 7 p.m. Friday. Shortly thereafter, another crash occurred at the same spot, killing a pedestrian. The exact circumstances aren't yet known. CHP's investigating.
Community members, stakeholders, and organizations are invited to provide input on redistricting process at Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow. During the meeting, supervisors will consider proposals for redrawing district boundaries, including a presentation of 4 draft maps. The process of redistricting is in accordance with the 2020 U.S. Census data. Redrawing district lines to reflect Kern's current population helps to ensure local voting districts reflect this population's demographics. Tomorrow's meeting is set for 3 p.m. To learn more, just head to kerncounty.com. Recapping our top stories this Monday morning. As mentioned, a storm is poised to drop more than an inch of rain in Bakersfield and other parts of Kern County today. Current officials advise residents in Wofford Heights and others who live in areas near the French fire burn scar they could be impacted by potential mud and debris flow. Sheriff's officials are searching for a shooter who killed a man early Saturday morning in Northwest Bakersfield. The killing happened in the area of Gibson Street and Marriott Drive around 2:30 in the morning. Investigators say a car pulled up to the man walking at Gibson and Marriott, fired a round at him, and then drove off. By our count, this is Kern County's 116th homicide so far this year. Community members, stakeholders, and organizations are invited to provide input on redistricting process at Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow. Supervisors will consider proposals for redrawing district boundaries, including a presentation of 4 draft maps. Tomorrow's meeting is set for 3 p.m. To learn more, just head to kerncounty.com.
5:34 is your time now, and taking a live look in Washington, where the clock is ticking for congressional Democrats to strike a deal on President Biden's top legislative wish. It's a multi-trillion-dollar spending bill with money for fighting climate change and to fund new social programs. Now leadership is signaling a deal might be done. NBC's Chris Polone is in Washington with the latest.
Maddie, good morning. Sunday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said negotiations on President Biden's Build Back Better bill were 90% done and that Senate Democrats could announce a final agreement today. Inching towards the finish line.
We've 90% of the bill agreed to and written. We just have some of the last decisions to be made.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi confirming Democrats are finishing work on President Biden's top legislative priority, a spending bill intended to strengthen the nation's social safety net and roll back the effects of climate change. Once pegged at $3.5 trillion, the final bill likely to come in around $2 trillion.
It is less than we had was projected to begin with, but it's still bigger than anything we have ever done in terms of addressing the needs of America's working families.
President Biden hosted the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and a key moderate, West Virginia's Joe Manchin, at his Delaware home Sunday morning to hammer out the final agreement. What likely stays? Universal pre-K, child care, and elder care funding. What's likely out? Free community college and Medicare expansion to cover dental, hearing, and vision. What's limited? The length of the child tax credit and paid family leave reduced from 12 weeks to 4.
Really what we're talking about is a GI Bill for the 21st century.
I think we're talking about bad tax policies, bad environmental policies.
Democrats holding slim majorities in both houses of Congress, trying to deliver the president a legislative win a year before the midterm elections. President Biden leaves for Europe Thursday for summit meetings with key world allies. Democrats hope to have all of this wrapped up by then. In Washington, Chris Polone, 17 News.
5:37 is our time now, and Pfizer says the child-sized doses of its COVID-19 vaccine are more than 90% effective in kids 5 to 11 years old. The drug maker released its data on Friday after tracking more than 2 kids who received doses of 1/3 the size of those given to teens and adults. It should be 2,000 kids. Pfizer concluded that the shots were safe and effective in preventing severe symptoms in children who contract the disease. The FDA will next review the material and make a recommendation, likely sometime next week. The CDC must then conduct its own review and give its approval before the vaccines can be rolled out to the public. But even if the shots are approved, many parents will still need convincing.
Unless it becomes at the point where it's mandatory in order for them to actually attend school, then obviously that's going to come down to the wire.
Meantime, the head of the CDC says COVID cases in the U.S. are down 15% from last week, but experts are warning that as we enter the colder months and more Americans gather inside, cases could once again rise. Meantime, Public Health reported another 4 souls lost to the coronavirus here in Kern County on Friday. Kern's death toll now stands at 1,648 lives lost. State data shows 227 people are in the hospital with the virus. 76 are in the ICU. We also learned of another 386 new cases on Friday.
Farm labor supporters from across California came out to Delano to celebrate the inauguration of Larry Itliong Day. The Larry Itliong Resource Center opened in Poplar yesterday, a 30-minute drive north of Delano. Supporters formed a caravan traveling from the town to the county line in Delano, where the Filipino-American National Historical Society met them for a ceremony.
We will extend hands and welcome the group from Tulare County, from Poplar, to Kern County and Delano to celebrate and to recognize the struggles of farm workers today and yesterday.
We remember the heroes who led, especially some of our manongs, our early farm worker leaders who came here alone often and fought and toiled and fought for change, and also that we inspire our next generation to make sure that they know that people that look like them from their communities fought and made change in this great state and in this nation.
Governor Gavin Newsom declared October 25th Larry Itliong Day in the state last year. California Attorney General Rob Bonta says Larry Itliong's leadership in the grape strike in Delano was monumental in fueling the movement to create the United Farm Workers.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.